Imagine two people sitting in the same office building. Same company, same floor, similar job titles. They even started the same year. One of them is quietly building wealth, investing every month, growing a cushion, sleeping well at night. The other one, on paper, earns just as much, maybe even a little more. But somehow, every month ends the same way. The account is nearly empty, there's stress about an unexpected bill, there's a vague plan to get serious about money that never quite begins. And here's the part that makes this genuinely strange. The second person isn't irresponsible. They're not blowing money on gambling or luxury vacations. They work hard, they care about their finances, they've read articles, they've downloaded budgeting apps, and yet the money just disappears. How does that happen? How can someone earn a good salary, sometimes a great salary, and still feel financially stuck month after month, year after year? The answer has almost nothing to do with math and everything to do with psychology. Most of us grow up with a very simple belief about money. Earn more, have more. It seems obvious, it seems logical, and for basic survival, it's true. But somewhere past a certain income level, this equation quietly stops working, and almost nobody notices when it breaks. We assume that financial struggle is a money supply problem. If you're broke, it's because you don't earn enough. The solution is a raise, a promotion, a better job. Get the income up, and the stress goes away. So people chase income. They work harder, they get the promotion, the salary goes up. And then something deeply confusing happens. The stress doesn't go away. The savings don't appear. Life feels almost identical to before, just with a slightly nicer version of the same anxiety. The raise got absorbed, the extra money vanished, and nobody quite knows where it went. Economists have a name for this phenomenon. They call it lifestyle inflation. But that phrase doesn't really capture what's happening under the surface, because this isn't just about spending more when you earn more. It's about something deeper, a set of invisible psychological forces that expand your expenses to match your income, almost automatically, without you ever consciously deciding to let them. And until you understand those forces by name, you cannot fight them.
Let's start with the most powerful force at work here. It's called the hedonic treadmill, and it's one of the most well-documented patterns in human psychology. Here's how it works. You want something, a better apartment, a nicer car, a wardrobe upgrade. You work toward it. You get it. For a short time, it genuinely feels good. You feel upgraded, like you've leveled up your life. But then, within weeks or months, it just becomes normal. The new apartment is just your apartment now. The car is just your car. The excitement fades, and your baseline happiness returns to roughly where it was before. So what do? You start wanting the next thing. This isn't weakness. This is biology. Our brains are adaptation machines. They're wired to get used to things quickly, because novelty signals opportunity and sameness signals safety. Your brain stops paying attention to things that don't change, including the good things you've already earned. The result is a treadmill. You keep walking, the scenery keeps shifting, but you never actually arrive anywhere. Now, layer on a second force, social comparison. Humans are deeply social creatures. We don't evaluate our lives in a vacuum. We evaluate them in relation to the people around us. And as your income grows, something subtle happens. Your social circle shifts. You're around different colleagues, different neighborhoods, different standards of normal. Suddenly, the benchmark changes. The apartment that felt luxurious at 24 feels inadequate at 31. Not because it got worse, but because everyone around you seems to be living at a different level. Psychologists call this keeping up with the Joneses. But in modern life, the Joneses aren't just your neighbors. They're your Instagram feed, your LinkedIn network, the curated highlight reels of hundreds of people, all signaling success simultaneously. And your brain, the same brain running on ancient social software, reads all of that as the new baseline, the new normal, the minimum acceptable standard. So you adjust. Unconsciously, gradually, you adjust. A slightly better restaurant, a slightly nicer holiday, a slightly newer phone. None of it feels extravagant. Each individual decision seems completely reasonable, but the cumulative effect is that every raise gets pre-spent before it even arrives. There's a third force that makes this worse. It's called scope insensitivity. Our brains are genuinely bad at distinguishing between amounts of money that are close in scale. The difference between spending $8 and $12 on lunch feels significant, but the difference between spending $2,400 and $2,800 on rent barely registers emotionally, even though it's 4 times the gap. This is why high earners often have no idea where their money goes. The individual transactions feel small relative to their income. A $200 dinner doesn't feel excessive when you earn $10,000 a month. A $400 weekend trip doesn't trigger alarm. But stack 12 of those trips, 8 of those dinners, and a few unexamined subscriptions on top of a creeping rent increase and a car upgrade, and suddenly you're spending everything you earn without ever having made a single decision that felt like overspending. The money doesn't vanish, it leaks. Here's the insight that reframes all of this. The problem isn't that high earners spend too much. The problem is that they never consciously defined what enough looks like, so the definition keeps expanding by default. Think about it this way. If you've never decided what your ideal life actually costs, then your spending has no ceiling. It just fills the available space. Like water in a container, it takes the shape of whatever's around it. This is what makes the income trap so invisible. When you were earning less, you had a natural constraint. The budget was tight because it had to be. You made deliberate choices about every dollar. But as income grows, that constraint loosens, and without a replacement for it, a conscious, chosen financial structure, spending expands into the gap. There's a concept in behavioral finance called mental accounting. It describes how people treat money differently depending on where it came from or what account it's in. A bonus feels different from a salary. A tax refund feels different from regular earnings, and a raise, especially a modest one, often gets mentally filed under extra money, which the brain instinctively treats as permission to spend rather than permission to save. The raise never gets redirected. It just quietly dissolves into a higher standard of living. And here's the cruelest part of all this. The things that lifestyle inflation buys, the nicer apartment, the better car, the upgraded wardrobe, they don't make people meaningfully happier. Research on this is remarkably consistent. Beyond a certain income level that covers genuine comfort and security, additional spending produces rapidly diminishing returns on well-being. People buy the upgrade, adapt to it within months, return to their baseline happiness, and then need the next upgrade to feel anything. Meanwhile, the people quietly building wealth, saving, investing, letting compounding do its work, they don't look flashy. They're not posting about it. But decade after decade, a gap is opening. And by the time most people notice it, the gap is enormous.
So, what do you actually do about this? The first and most important step is to define your number before your income defines it for you. Sit down and figure out what your genuinely comfortable life costs. Not your aspirational life, not the life that would impress someone at a dinner party. The life that is actually warm, enjoyable, and sustainable for you. Add up the real costs, then protect that number. Any income above that number, that's your wealth-building margin, and it should have a destination before it arrives in your account. This connects to a principle you've probably heard before: pay yourself first. But here's the version of it that actually changes behavior. It's not just about putting money away before you spend. It's about making the transfer automatic, scheduled for the day your salary lands, before your brain has a chance to reclassify the money as available. Once you've seen money sitting in your checking account, your brain has already counted it as yours to spend. Move it before you see it. Automate it. Make saving the default, not the decision. The second thing is to create a short pause before any significant spending decision. Not a complicated system, just a rule. For anything above a certain amount, say $100, you wait 48 hours before purchasing. This single habit interrupts the automatic spending loop.
It replaces impulse with intention. Most of the time, after 48 hours, you either don't want the thing anymore or you decide it genuinely serves you. Both are good outcomes. The third thing is to audit your spending not for guilt, but for alignment. Go through your last 2 months of transactions. For each significant expense, ask one question. Did this actually improve my life, or did I just adapt to it and forget about it within a week? You'll find patterns. You'll find money going to things that brought zero lasting satisfaction. Redirect that money. None of this requires dramatic sacrifice. It requires something harder and more valuable: clarity. Knowing what you actually want and what you're just buying out of habit, social pressure, or the need to signal something to people who probably aren't paying attention. Here's something worth sitting with. A person earning $40,000 a year who saves 20% of their income is building wealth than a person earning $120,000 who saves nothing. The higher earner looks more successful, lives in a better apartment, drives a better car, posts better photos, but the numbers tell a different story. One person is building a foundation, the other is running a treadmill at a higher speed. Income is not wealth. Income is the raw material. What you do with it consistently, quietly, over years is what becomes wealth. The people who figure this out early often describe the same turning point. Not a dramatic moment, usually just a quiet realization. More money didn't fix anything. The goalposts kept moving. The anxiety didn't disappear. And one day, they stopped chasing the next number and started asking a better question. Not, how do I earn more? But how do I stop letting what I earn disappear? The answer, it turns out, is never about the money itself. It's about the psychology underneath it. The invisible forces expanding your wants, the social comparison running in the background, the brain adapting to every upgrade and immediately demanding the next one. Name those forces, design around them. Give your money a destination before your lifestyle claims it, because the salary was never the problem. The missing piece was always the plan.